close your eyes. It's July 20th, 1969. The whole world is glued to television sets. On the screen, a grainy image of Neil Armstrong descending the ladder of Apollo 11's lunar module. His voice crackles through speakers, "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind." In living rooms from New York to Moscow, people erupt in cheers. But not everyone is convinced. In the shadows, a quiet suspicion begins to form: what if none of this really happened? The moon landing was the crowning achievement of the space race, a fierce Cold War contest between the United States and the Soviet Union. It started in 1957 when the USSR launched Sputnik, the first artificial satellite. America felt humiliated and poured billions into NASA. By the early 1960s, President John F. Kennedy promised the world that America would put a man on the moon by the end of the decade. It was a bold political move, meant to prove American superiority in science, technology, and ideology. NASA built the massive Saturn V rocket, the most powerful ever created, and trained astronauts under intense physical and mental conditions. Thousands of engineers, scientists, and contractors worked tirelessly. And finally, in 1969, Apollo 11 launched. But for skeptics, this story seemed too perfect. They pointed to the flag that seemed to wave, despite the moon having no atmosphere. NASA explained it had a horizontal rod to keep it stretched out, and astronauts twisting it into the soil caused it to flap briefly. They noticed the absence of stars in the photos. NASA replied that the cameras were set for daylight exposure on the moon's bright surface, making faint stars invisible. Some highlighted shadows that didn't fall in parallel lines, claiming it proved multiple light sources, like studio lamps. Experts countered: uneven terrain and sunlight bouncing off the lunar surface can bend shadows. Yet these explanations did little to dampen suspicion. Then came the rumor that filmmaker Stanley Kubrick, who directed 2001, A Space Odyssey in 1968, was secretly hired to film fake moon landing footage. The idea was immortalized in films and even jokes in The Shining. The belief persisted because people mistrusted the government, especially after scandals like Watergate and Vietnam. NASA, once a symbol of hope, became just another government agency in some minds. Plus, the moon landing footage looked surreal. The astronauts moved in slow motion, dust floated strangely. For some, it seemed like movie magic. And so, 50 years later, the question still lingers in countless books, blogs, and barroom debates: was it one small step for man, or the biggest step in cinematic special effects? The answer might be written in history books, but the mystery lives on in the hearts of skeptics. It starts as an ordinary day. You look up, and the sky is painted with long, white streaks behind jet planes. Some fade quickly, but others linger, spreading into hazy clouds. To most, it's harmless. Just contrails, water vapor from jet engines freezing at high altitudes. But to a growing number of people, there's something much darker. The chemtrail theory grew popular in the 1990s, fueled by the internet and talk radio. But its roots reach further back. In the 1960s and 70s, the US government did run secret experiments like Project Popeye, which tried to make it rain over Vietnam by cloud seeding. And in the 1950s, the British military tested biological agents over their own population, believing them harmless. When these projects came to light decades later, they confirmed what conspiracy theorists already feared: sometimes, governments really do experiment on their own people. So, when people saw persistent white lines crisscrossing the sky, the idea took hold. They claimed the government or shadowy organizations were spraying chemicals for weather modification, creating droughts, floods, or controlling climate change. Population control, spreading illness, weakening immune systems. Mind control, using metallic particles to enhance electromagnetic influence. Photos online show mysterious nozzles on airplanes, barrels inside jets labeled ballast, that some claim hold chemicals, and patents related to weather modification. After heavy spraying, people share anecdotes of headaches, coughing, or seeing metallic residue on car windshields. Scientists explain these trails as contrails, water vapor that condenses into ice crystals at high altitude. Modern engines are more efficient, creating more contrails. Changes in humidity and temperature can make them last for hours. The barrels photographed inside planes are usually ballast tanks used in flight testing. But explanations rarely quiet the fear. Because, historically, secret projects did happen. And once trust is broken, every white streak in the sky can look like a smoking gun. So next time you see lines crisscrossing overhead, you might shrug and say, just planes. But for others, the sky itself has become a battlefield, and those lines, silent weapons. In late 2019, strange headlines filled the news. A new virus had appeared in Wuhan, China. By spring 2020, cities were locked down. People were afraid. And as streets emptied, construction crews quietly installed tall, slim towers, 5G antennas. For some, it felt like more than coincidence. It felt like a hidden cause. 5G, the fifth generation of wireless technology, promised lightning-fast speeds and massive data capacity. But even before COVID, rumors spread online that 5G might cause cancer, infertility, or harm to bees. Anti-5G groups formed worldwide. Some burned towers, suspecting hidden dangers. When COVID hit, those fears merged with the pandemic. The theory claimed that 5G towers either weakened human immune systems, making people more susceptible to COVID, or directly transmitted the virus, as if viruses could be downloaded through radio waves. Maps showing 5G coverage and high COVID cases spread online, presented as proof. In Wuhan, where the pandemic began, China had launched some of the first large-scale 5G trials. To believers, that timing wasn't chance. Medical experts explained, viruses are biological, not electromagnetic. COVID spread in countries with little or no 5G coverage. And while high population density and international travel fueled early outbreaks, correlation doesn't equal causation. The World Health Organization and other agencies found no evidence that 5G harms. But in times of crisis, invisible threats breed invisible explanations. The pandemic caused fear, anger, and confusion, and conspiracy theories offered simple answers. Burning 5G towers became an act of rebellion. A fight against an unseen enemy. As more towers rise, the theory still flickers in the minds of some. Are these really just for faster internet, or something more sinister? May 2020. A video spreads like wildfire. It's called Plandemic, a name that itself accuses. This wasn't a natural disaster, it was a plan. In homes locked down by fear, millions click play. What they hear changes how they see everything. The video features Judy Mikovits, a researcher once respected, later discredited for unsupported claims. She says, the pandemic was planned to sell vaccines. Masks weaken immune systems. Doctors are forced to list every death as COVID. She claimed she was silenced by powerful people because she knew the truth. Historically, big pharma scandals like the opioid crisis, and real stories of corporate greed, made some people ready to believe anything. The video misquotes scientific studies and cherry-picks data. It claims flu shots increase COVID risk by 36%, taken from a study about unrelated coronaviruses. It says beaches are safer because healthy microbes protect us, ignoring airborne transmission. The film's tone is calm, confident, making it sound more credible. Experts debunked these claims. Death certificates are based on medical judgment, not conspiracy. Vaccines don't contain tracking chips. Masks reduce spread. YouTube and Facebook tried to remove the video, but that fueled belief even more. They're censoring us, it must be true. The pandemic created a perfect storm: fear, confusion, mistrust, and hours of isolation online. The film offered a story with villains, heroes, and secret knowledge. In the end, pandemic was proven false. But for millions, it planted seeds of doubt. Seeds that grew into full-blown distrust of doctors, scientists, and vaccines. A quiet documentary appears online, Planet Lockdown. The title itself suggests a world controlled, a prison planet. The camera focuses on serious faces. Soft music plays. But what they say is explosive. They talk about an invisible cabal, billionaire bankers, global elites, secret meetings. The theory claims COVID was engineered to create fear. Vaccines are tools of surveillance or population control. Governments plan digital IDs and cashless systems to track every human. These ideas aren't new. In history, secret societies like the Freemasons, the Illuminati, and Bilderberg meetings have fueled rumor. Real power often hides behind closed doors, and in that darkness, imagination runs wild. They cite vague documents, patents, and interviews. They claim deaths were exaggerated to justify lockdowns. That 5G, vaccines, and digital money are all parts of the same plan. Names like Mr. Global add mystery, as if one mastermind holds all the strings. While powerful people do meet and shape policy, there's no evidence of a single, coordinated global plan. COVID overwhelmed every government, rich or poor, prepared or not. Vaccines were developed by competing companies, each with their own interests. But the theory is appealing. It explains chaos as control. It feels comforting to believe someone is in charge.